Are we living in modern times or are we living in ancient times? Well, obviously both, because right now this is modern times, but that was already a second ago that I said right now, and in 1,000 years' time, assuming there's any humans left or any people, beings of any kind, then if somebody could miraculously watch this video, they'd be looking at ancient times. But that's an interesting question. Will anybody ever be able to see this video? How lasting is our digital data? It feels more likely that you can find some Dead Sea Scrolls than you might be able to still watch a video hundreds, thousands of years into the future. But I don't know. Anyway, the reason I was thinking about it was because I watched this film yesterday, Genevieve, which is just a comedy that was made, I think it was released in 1953. And I was thinking something that I often think is that when you watch things that were set in the past, sometimes you get a feeling that the past was always a bit rubbish or a bit grey or a bit dusty and old. And of course, it wasn't, not for the people for whom it was current. And you get much less of that feeling when you watch something that was filmed and produced and released in the time that it was set, rather than watching something that was made now and is about the past. Because I think sometimes when you make things that are now, that are set in the past, then filmmakers have to kind of deliberately make things look and feel old so that we don't get confused and think that we're in the present. I don't know, but I find it useful to think that for people in the past, it wasn't the past, it was the present. It was modern times. Everything felt new and exciting and cutting edge. Except, of course, that even that's not true, because here am I now, this house I'm in is 150 years old. Most of the things in my house are pretty old. I'm not actually a big one for modern gadgets, and funnily enough, I tend to be a late adopter for most technology. And that's the thing that we also sometimes forget, I think, when we look to the future, like when we look at futuristic movies that are set in the future. There's a tendency for some of them to have everything in the future seem to be new and cutting edge. Whereas, of course, in the future, just like now and just like in the past, everything you're working with is a mix of new and old. And not everybody is living in a life that seems absolutely cutting edge and futuristic. And time is this flow. It's constantly changing. There's no such thing as new, because whatever's new is instantly old as soon as it's become new. And working in software, that's really, really obvious. So you can make a new piece of software, you can work with a new technology, and within a year it's out of date. You're constantly having to update things when you're working in software, and it can be really frustrating. Some people find it really exciting. I find it slightly annoying, the fact that I have to keep updating things. And of course, whatever we think is the new, exciting, shiny thing. So at the moment, it's AI. Everybody wants to get a piece of AI. Everybody thinks AI is the future. And of course, most of it, in fact, arguably none of it, is literally artificial intelligence. Large language models are just large language models. There's an awful lot of language, and it's being processed in a way that it can be regurgitated and made to look new. So where am I going with all this? That's a really good question. I think all I really wanted to say is that we're not better or worse than the people who came before or those who will come after. Everything that is new now will become old really quickly. We're all going to be dust eventually, and everything we do is only temporary. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. That can be a good thing when you recognise that whatever is the big concern that you're really worried about right now, it will fade.